Hey there, Trisha with Upcycled Stuff. Today I want to show you how to take some old food packaging material and turn it into a gift box. Now I know there's a lot of tutorials out there on the web how to make these. Lots of different fancy ways to cut and shape and score old cardboard to turn it into a box. But I use these quite often for shipping jewelry that people have ordered from my Etsy shop, and I'll probably do it for Christmas this year, so you know that means a lot of boxes, which means I'd like to find a quick way to do it. So I don't want to have to go and grab a template and try to match up all the score lines, and it's just too much work. So this is a really quick way to turn some old food packaging into boxes. So here's a couple of different ways that I've done it. I've kept the actual packaging visible on the outside on this one. This was a Kraft macaroni and cheese. Smile, it's the cheesiest. And when you open it up, it's just the cardboard on the inside. This one I've done the opposite way so that the packaging is on the inside, and it's just a pretty plain cardboard box on the outside that you can then embellish any way that you want to. Or you can even snazz it up a little more, taking some magazine pages. These are from a gardening magazine, and just decoupage them onto your box. You can even decoupage a message, whatever, you know, get creative with it. But these are just a couple of different ways that you can use these boxes and decorate them. Okay, so for your supplies, you're going to need the box of your choice. You'll need a pair of scissors, a cutting implement, which I am using the Recollections. Let me turn this around so you can see. It is in the scrapbooking section of your local craft store. It's a little bit pricey, so here's what I suggest. I got mine at Michael's. It's regularly priced for $20, and it is one of the least expensive cutting and scoring implements in the scrapbooking section. But if you go to Michael's, there's always that 40% or 50% off one item coupon. So if you're not on their mailing list, go to their website, get on their mailing list, and get those coupons. There's a new one every week. So I only paid $12 for mine. And if you're making more than, you know, half a dozen boxes, it's totally worth it. It makes it so easy. And then the last thing you'll need is this double-sided tape dispenser. Those you can also find in the craft booking section, but this one here I actually went to CVS and grabbed because I broke the tape on my other one and needed to get this in a pinch for this tutorial. But let me show you the other one that I use. This one here. It's the Tombow Mono adhesive. I need to figure out how that tape is supposed to go back in there because I broke it and I made a sticky mess of my fingers trying to fix it. But all that aside, let's get started. So the first thing you're going to do is take your box and you're going to cut off all these, these tabs here, all this extra stuff. So you'll cut just along that score line. And on this machine, this little ruler here actually lifts up, so you can stick your box right underneath and you can start cutting. Of course, mine's a little bit big, so scratch that idea. I'm going to cut off all my tabs with a pair of scissors, and then it'll be ready to use in the cutting machine. Okay, now that you have your edges cut off, albeit a little bit crooked, you're going to go ahead and open the box on the seam, wherever your seam may be. And then you're just going to cut the box wherever there is a score line, because you don't want your finished box to have additional score lines to either confuse you in the process of making your box, or you don't want to compromise the integrity of the box. So if you just pull this in and line it up. Now, because I just cut my box by hand, I'm not going to use my top edge here to straighten. I'm actually going to use this groove, which is where the cutting and scoring tool, the track that it uses. I'm going to line up the top and bottom of this existing score line, and then I'll cut on that, and then I know I'll have a flush edge that I can use. Okay. And then just do that with all these pieces. It is really quick and simple. The one thing I do recommend is that you use, don't just go, you know, in one direction for cutting. Actually use the up and down motion so that you're using both sides of your blade, because both sides are sharp. and then you don't dull one side and not the other and think you just need to replace your blade when really you've just dulled one side and not both. Okay. So you're going to use these two pieces here for your box material. Now because I cut those by hand, I want to make sure that everything is nice and straight. So now on my edges that I've just cut with the paper cutter, I'm going to use those to line up along the top edge and get a nice straight edge. Look how crooked that is. Which is exactly why you want to make sure you do this step. So just flush out your edges. Yeah, it's not quite lined up, a little bit more. Do the same thing to the other side. And then you're ready to start scoring some lines. Actually, let's make these a little bit smaller. We don't need to make such a big box. All right. So let's say that we'll cut about this much off of the width. You can cut two pieces. Just make sure you're not cutting something that's cardboard that's too thick, but these cereal boxes and food packaging boxes, about 2 is what it's going to handle. And then we'll just cut off a little on the edge. You want to make sure that you're cutting these the exact same size to start with. And then we have to make one more cut. Alright, so now you have two pieces that are exactly the same, or you should. You're going to take one of these pieces and you're going to trim 2 of the perpendicular sides. Just a little bit, because that one will be the bottom piece of the box that will fit inside the top, so it can't be the same size, right? We'll take this one that's a little bit more boring. And you're going to trim, oh, I don't know, what is that, a 1/2 inch, maybe? From each side. About that much. Okay, and now that should be just a little bit smaller than this one. Okay, I wouldn't go too much less than 1/2 inch, because when we start folding you're going to have lots of layers of this that are going inside this lid, so I wouldn't go less than 1/2 inch. Alright, so now you need to determine how tall you want your box to stand. So in these boxes that I showed you in the beginning, I have a 1-inch box, a 2-inch box, and a 3-inch box. And the where I score on this box will determine how tall this is, right? So let's do a 1-inch box. So super simple, right? We're gonna do a 1-inch score all around the box. So if you lift this up, you'll see there's the number 1 here. So we're just gonna line this up on the 1-inch line. And then drop your ruler down on top of it. Make sure it stayed straight. And then score it. And you only have to run the scoring implement down at once. Flip it and go along the 1-inch. Flip it, go along the 1-inch. And one last time. And score it. Now you're going to do the same thing to the bottom. And once you have both of your pieces scored, you can determine if you want to have your lid. Let me show you, it's probably easier. So on this one here, I have the lid and the box at the bottom of the box are the same height, so there's no extra material sticking out to grab onto like on this box. So like a regular jewelry box would have a nice lid and the bottom where you could just grab onto it and pull it apart. Well, if you want to do the extra lip on the bottom, you're going to take the top part of your box, which is the bigger one, right? So we'll take this one here, and you're just going to trim the same amount from each side. So on this one, we only did 1 inch, so I'm only going to do a little bit. Again, I'll line it up with the edge of my silver thing here, so it's really just a tiny bit. And this is just to give me a little bit of extra leverage to grab hold of the box while I'm opening my special gift inside of my upcycled jewelry box. And then don't forget if you've already done a side or not. I don't think I've done this side. Put it down. Okay. Now from here, you're going to grab your scissors and you're going to cut from this corner to the corner where the 2 lines meet that you just scored. And you're going to do that on all 4 corners on both the top and the bottom of your box. And remember, the purpose of this whole tutorial is to give you a way to make a box out of some old stuff that's laying around the house without having to remember templates or having to print templates. So you have to print on a piece of paper that gets, you know, recycled or tossed in order for you to make something out of cardboard. So kind of defeating the purpose, because you typically aren't going to be able to feed your cardboard box through a printer, so it's not like you can put your template right on the box you're using. So there's that to consider. All right. Now once you have all of your corners cut, you're just going to start folding on the score line. So you'll fold everything in. Okay. And then also these tabs, right? So fold in all the tabs, everything that has a score line. All right. And then you'll do it on all of those pieces. Let me get this out of the way. Now you're going to take your Scotch tape and word of caution, here's something I've done. You don't pay attention to which way you're doing your tabs. You can end up with a box that has this little extra tab here on this side, but not on this side. But when you flip it over, you have 2, but then on other sides, you don't have any. So here's what, the easiest way to remember it. Whatever tab you're working on, fold in both of the triangles and put glue on both sides of the folded over section. Okay, and don't be afraid to use glue. I mean, look, these aren't going to be like mail grade. You're not going to stick these in the mail, so they don't have to be super tight, but be generous with the tape that you're using. Okay, and then you're going to take on these 2 pieces that are left over on the inside of the box and tape. Use your adhesive right there. And then just stick them together, right? So this one will attach to this side, and this one will attach to the outside of your box. Okay, and then you do the same thing down here. Fold these in and do them together. Otherwise, you have very low attention span like some of us and you're not paying attention to what you're doing, you'll end up with a funky looking box, although most people aren't going to really notice. They're just going to notice how cool your box is. Alright. Fold them up. There we go. And then do the same thing with your top. Okay, and then once you have both of your pieces all taped, it's taped up, you have your finished box. So you can just pull them together, you can do some ribbon on them. I really like that box, that's really cute. But again, remember, you can do them with the inside or the outside facing out. But there it is, that's how you make a gift box out of a cereal box or an ice cream box, whatever you have laying around the house. If you need to trim anything up, you can go back and trim up any of the edges, but if you're careful with your scoring, it should all be nice and even.